Please, Artemio.
Teacher, who is team 1 and who is team 2? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. So, just a second. Here I have a coin. Okay. This is not going to be a coin. Victor and Artemio, are you on the same team?
No.
No.
Great. So, Victor and Artemio. Okay. Victor, can you please help me and choose a color between red and black?
Black.
Black. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, black is 2.
So you're number 2, you're con. Okay. And Artemio, your team pro. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Okay. So could you please start, Jocelyn?
Thank
you.
So, welcome to the first debate about social networks, the contemporary metaphysical cave. We are going to read the debate statements. The pro, social networks and internet have no metaphysical elements that are prejudicial to human existence. They are just tools that is being used like any other type of technology. They make no significant harm. Metaphysics has nothing to do on those matters. And the con, social networks and internet have metaphysical elements that are prejudicial to human existence. They are a tool that is being used like another type of technology, and they make significant harm, and this is how metaphysics has strong influence on these matters. So,
Can you continue reading, please?
the debate duration is going to be and the debate model that we have chosen lasts 13 minutes.
Thank you. So please could you give the chance to speak to the first member of team number 1?
It is me. Could I begin?
So Diego, could you please let him know when he can begin, and then you start taking her seat time, okay?
I'm going to start counting time.
So please just tell Alex whenever you say go, go.
Go.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alejandro with my teammates Emilio and Artemio. We are going to talk about social media and the internet. Social media has become very influential in the last couple of years. As most of us know, the impact that it has had on our lives has been really big and has affected in lots of aspects. However, we need to find out if it has a negative consequence or not. By this, we will state that social networks and the internet have no metaphysical elements that are prejudicial to human existence. It means that social media and the internet have no big influence and do not harm in our daily lives. In this debate, we will support our statements by means of Plato's philosophical proposal, and on the following cases or examples: Santiago Escobar, a man who lived without social media for 2 years. In order to sustain our claims, we will use the following reports. Las redes sociales, una manera de pensar el mundo. Throughout the debate, we will present the following definitions, criteria, and arguments. Social media, metaphysics, prejudicial, human existence, and influence. According to this criteria, if we prove that social media is not relevant to human existence and therefore does not affect directly or significantly, then we won the debate. Based on the previous the key definitions and words, we want to emphasize on them because they are topics that have a deep impact in philosophy as well as social media, which is the principal topic that we will be touching and getting into deeper understanding throughout the duration of this debate. And we want to focus that it does not have any harm or any deeper effect on people on individuals.
Thank you so much, Alejandro. Can you please let me know the time, Diego, please? How many minutes?
I hadn't noticed that he stopped talking, but it was approximately at 2:06.
Thank you very much. So please, Jocelyn.
Yes, the other thing can wait.
Can
Go.
the member of the second team please present?
Yes.
Thank you, Daphne. Diego, please just let her know whenever you're ready, okay?
Go.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daphne Cubels, and my teammates are Eric Araujo Sosa and Victor Martinez Hernandez. We have the composture. Today, we're going to talk about the social networks, the internet, and their effects. And we claim that the social networks and the internet have metaphysical elements that are harmful to human existence, as they have like a strict relation to metaphysics and are common tool that is being used like any other type of technology. In this debate, we will support our statements by means of Plato's and Nietzsche's philosophical proposal of metaphysics, and the following cases that we use is going to be the Nietzsche's philosophical against the existence of the world. The other philosopher we're going to mention is Noam Chomsky and how social networks may create a false feeling. And if the one of Jose Ramon Ubieto and the difference between the real and the digital life. In order to sustain all of this, we use different sources. The main ones we use is the Faculty of Psychology and Educational Science of the Open University of California, the documentary on Netflix that is called The Social Dilemma, and The Will to Power of Nietzsche's. Through the debate, we will present different definitions and criteria. The main ones are metaphysics, that is a branch of philosophy that use like nature of the reality. We are going to also use the Plato's metaphysic that explains like the two separate worlds, that it's like the sensible world and the like normal world. And we're going to use like the metaphor that he most of the time used, that is the Plato's cave, that is the one we like saw during our exam, and what is like the human existence, and if it's like harmful or not harmful. And according to these criteria, if we prove that the social networks and the internet do have a metaphysical elements that are harmful or harmful themselves to human existence, then we can know that we like won the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. The time, Diego, please.
2:30 sharp.
2:32?
No, 2:30.
Oh,
Like-
thank you. Jocelyn? Yes?
So we are going to pass to the second argument. So please, another one for the team. One.
Yes. So,
Go.
thank you. The first argument we are going to present here in this debate is the social media have no metaphysics elements on it, therefore it isn't relevant for us. And why? Because in itself, social networks are a different world from those who actually can be found in philosophy, and this social media is a completely different term that what you can find here in philosophy. Also, because what occurs in social networks is that apparently nothing controls this activity, and therefore we can say that even though it is something that is right now and it is a trend right now, it is just a exhaustive use of time for us, which means that maybe in the future this internet and social media will be irrelevant and will be replaced for something else. Also, we the films, television, and everything is an example of it. Like we are already living that, and in right now we're in the social media, but maybe in the future it is going to be the same. We're going to live them, and therefore we are saying that they are not part of a philosophy thing. They are not having metaphysics elements, and they are not relevant because this could happen to us. So with this argument, we can say that we need to be aware of what is going to happen next. And actually, you can just see what I just said, the examples of television, the examples of radio. So this is why we think as a team that it is relevant for us, because it is just a temporary thing and it is not relevant. So therefore, we cannot find any kind of metaphysics elements on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Time, Diego, please.
1.
Again, please.
Like 2 minutes and 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to follow with the second team.
Okay, yeah. So the supporter claim that social networks and the internet do have metaphysical elements that are detrimental and harmful to human existence. I'd like to start with our first statement or our first argument, which is that the virtual world is actually an escape from the sensible world, and thus it poses a detriment to human beings and its existence overall. So we could start by saying that Plato poses the theory of forms, which establishes that there's a sensible world in which we live in and what we perceive as the reality, and then there is a world of forms from which immutable and these idealized concepts, abstract concepts exist, and thus in some way the sensible world is derived from the world of forms and is kind of like deteriorated version of it. So to counter this argument, Nietzsche proposed that actually there was no world of forms, and the world of forms was only an escape for people to go out of the sensible world in this case, which will be the real world, the visual world, to try and find tranquility in the perfect and idealized world that is the world of forms. I propose that virtual world is actually very similar to the world of forms in this matter, and as it has proven to be an escape, a way for people to become something else, to be themselves, but in a more idealized, perfect way. It has proved to be kind of like this illusion in which one can escape the flux and the constant changes and suffering from a real world and enter this perfect online world. However, this perfect online world also poses its own risks, as it stops, for example, human growth, which is perhaps one of the most metaphysical components of human existence. If we follow the theory of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, for example, which is what a human needs to realize himself, the online and virtual world will actually contradict the self-actualization, as it prevents humans from becoming themselves in the real world. Thanks.
Time, Diego, please.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start with the second argument. Please, team 1, if you want to start.
Go.
Social media and the internet as a second life. Social media and the internet are often used to escape the sensible world, to feel better living an online life that represents the individual's world of forms, where he or she can feel free and happy creating his or her own life. On the other hand, there is the offline life, that is her real life situation linked to the sensible world. Therefore, it is not perfect, so the individual prefers to enter the social media world. This allows the person to feel more secure and happy about an utopian life. As philosopher Zygmunt Bauman said, according to a Forbes report, the internet and social networks have pointed out that the success of portals such as Facebook is due to the fear of being alone and being rejected. He further notes that the internet has created a double life, online and the offline life, each with its own characteristics. In the online life, the ability to listen, negotiate, and cohabit with other human beings is solved, since it is not necessary to negotiate but to press buttons. Therefore, we can conclude that in itself, networks do not affect our life or harm us, since they make us create another life totally different from the one we have as a main. So it does not affect us in a significant way, and thus is still one more tool for us. Thank you.
Time, Diego, please.
1 minute and 39 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay. The second team. No. Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, the second team.
Okay. May I start? Okay. Our second argument is called interactions on the virtual world are insignificant. And according to another philosopher, Noam Chomsky, he mentions that the social networks may create like a false feeling of belonging and like autonomy, meaning that we as individuals create like a false relationship with other people via this network that most of the times is superficial, limited, and it's only based on like digital interactions. Also, it's very important to mention that lots of these gigantic industries such as Facebook, Google, Amazon, among others, contribute like a lot of your personal information to create like this false reality in which we as individuals, we are comfortable. Because of this, the people often use like these networks may not be able to identify between the reality and the fantasy. For that, it's very important to mention that how are the real and the virtual world like different? They are not very different. They prove to be quite similar under Plato's theory of forms. Both are like a mere copy of the world of forms. Um, that's why a clear example of this is the documentary that we mentioned before, that it's The Social Dilemma, that it's on Netflix, that explains a little bit more like the dangerous human impact of like the social networks and shows like the theory that Chomsky had mentioned.
Time, Diego, please.
1 minute, 52 seconds.
Thank you very much.
Likewise, the internet and social networks have a lot of information available to us, so they are considered tools and nothing more than that. In the case of the humanities and philosophy, these social networks can be seen as a space for dialogue, argumentative confrontation, decisions about projects, formation of groups, and communication between those affected, as Constante and others mentioned in a 2013 report made in the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, or UNAM. An example of this is the case of Santiago Escobar, who decided to leave social networks and the internet for 2 years. And in those 2 years, he managed to learn that it was not necessary to always be connected and depending on social networks such as Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Since he managed to balance and rearrange his life using only tools for professional purposes and nothing else, being almost the same as when he had social networks. So these in themselves do not affect anything. During this period of time, Santiago was satisfied with his life and how he was developing along with his soul and essence, with a good understanding of himself and his surroundings. He was aware of the people he coexisted with and how both his world of forms and sensible world were not affected or distorted, despite the fact that he was a regular user of social media before, which proves our previously stated point. Santiago was a person who was satisfied with the way that he was living. He was conscious and he wasn't concerned about how social media could affect and how his background history could have any kind of impact on the way that he was feeling, on the way that he was uh, interacting with the world, with the rest of the people, with his environment. And that shows that it didn't have any kind of impact or any kind of effect that could definitely impact or affect him later on. Human beings have been capable of living without any kind of platforms, such as social media, for thousands of years, and Santiago's specific case demonstrates that it could still be possible and feasible. It just requires will and intention.
Thank you. Time, Diego, please.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay, so this teacher, today start with the objections for the team 1, or we can pass to the team 2 and finally they pass with the objections.
We're on argument number 2, aren't we? Then please just move on to team number 2. And then after we're done with team number 2, then we can start with objections, okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
so team number 2.
Go.
Social media can be compared in a way to the world of forms. It is a way of escape for people to escape their own reality, searching for a fake one, which is better for them. As nothing can be touched or proven, and we can only perceive the essence of things, people try to have an essence which is not true. As they pre-exist to sensible things, the image of a person in the social media can push him to do things in the daily world in the pursuit of maintaining this reality, which is not true. Jose Ramon Ubieto, a psychoanalyst and collaborating professor at the Faculty of Psychology and Educational Sciences in the Open University of Catalonia, mentions that one's reality, either in the daily world and virtual life, can be completely different, as in the virtual, it doesn't require that you use your body, and along with anonymity, it makes that the commitment of the people to be real is really low. For some people, it could be like a daily carnival in which they choose a costume to have on a daily basis. This causes social media to end up taking up true happiness away from them, as the user will always be seeking this perfect image that they want to have, but will never be fully true. Also, I think that this is very dangerous, as they can make it dependent for them to rely on the happiness that is given to them by the image they have in the social media. Therefore, if in any moment the virtual world of social media is taken away from them, so will the happiness and plenitude will be.
Diego, can you please help me with the time?
1 minute and 48 seconds.
Thank you. Then the objections, Jocelyn, please.
Yes, so we are going to pass to the third argument, and in each of them, they will be two intervention of objection. Each team will have 20 seconds. So team 1, if you want to start.
Oh, teacher, it's because I would like to make a specification. I think that both teams have already mentioned, have already expressed their third arguments.
Thank you very much, dear. So let's just move on to the different objections, if you please, and then we'll just spend 40 seconds per team, okay? And afterwards, we are moving on to our conclusion. Is that all right?
So I'll let them know when they reach the 20 seconds.
Yes, please, Diego.
Okay. As I will take more time in writing the message, I'll just put a reaction when they reach 20.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, please. Okay, does anyone have any objections? No objections?
Yes, I
Nico?
do.
Yes, please. 20 seconds, dear.
I think that the argument that Artemio mentioned is not very good because I believe that dependence on the happiness that is provided by the social media is very dangerous, as it can backfire when taking away social media from an individuals, also taking away their happiness and they not being able to be happy in the real world. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Artemio, do you have something to say?
Yes, sorry. How many time do I have to? 20 seconds also?
Yeah.
Well, you tell me when can I start, Diego, please?
Go.
Well, first of all, I think that social media and the internet were invented to, well, they have different usage, but we as individuals have to be conscious and aware of the usage and the information available on the internet. And we need to cohabit with them in order to increase our knowledge and find a real essence in a new digital world that complements the real one.
Thank you. Someone else?
Yeah, I would like to pose a second objection.
Yes, please.
Basically, the story recounted by Alex, in which the man goes some years of his life without internet and social media, while actually proving that humans are able to live without social media, also proves in the same way that his life is better without social media.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Could I answer back?
Yeah,
Sorry.
sure.
Well, I personally think that it wasn't even stated if his life was better or worse than it was before or after the social media. He was just stating that it was possible in order for him to live and to coexist without the usage of this, but it is not. It has no specific. It has no specific benefit or pro or cons. He said that it was possible and that he could live better without. Well, I think the 20 seconds have already passed because of Diego's reaction. Sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you. So will you please take 2 minutes to go into your WhatsApp group so you can start organizing and prepare your conclusion, please? Diego, please let us know when they have to come back, okay?
2 minutes.
Thank you. Yes, please. And then Jocelyn, you're going to present them at the end, okay? Please. Diego, when it's time, please open your mic and let us know, okay? Thank you.
Time is over.
Thank you. Jocelyn, please.
So finally, each team will have 4 minutes to present us the conclusions. So team one, please.
No, team 2, please, first.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'll go ahead and present our conclusion.
Yes, please.
Finally, we can conclude that social networks and the internet do have metaphysical elements that are harmful or are harmful themselves to human existence. So after taking into consideration and actively listening to your arguments, we believe that some great points were made, from which we can obtain valuable insight to further elaborate on our stance, such as social media is meant to complement the real world and has various beneficial applications, whether educational, communicative, or the likes. Human existence can also be without the presence of an influence of social media on the internet, as seen in Alex's story, where the man goes a few years or months without the influence of social media in his life. And also that the virtual world is an ideal world similar to that of the world forms proposed by Plato. We found our team having several agreements with those of your arguments, and actually thinking they could be useful to further elaborate on our proposal that the virtual world is an escape and is really harmful. So even so, and in spite of your efforts to convince us that social networks and the internet have no metaphysical elements or are harmful themselves to human existence, we think we performed better during this debate, as we were able to present several arguments that counter the ones you made. We actually kind of build up on your arguments as well and made them kind of counter arguments when in those points in which we agreed, like the fact that the virtual world is an ideal world. Yeah, this argument is not really that good in support of social media, because we don't need another ideal world. The fact of on the existence of an ideal world makes a distraction and an illusion of the sensible world, the visual world in which we really live in, and just causes humans to miss on the self-actualization they need to be happy. They miss on the suffering they need to share in order to make this meaningless world meaningful. An ideal and perfect world is also an inhumane world. So we think thus in the inaction of participating in this in this perfect world, the fact of not trying to escape from this world and relying on its ideals, its perfection to kind of satisfy your needs, it's actually detrimental to human health, whether psychological, as we have seen in studies made, for example, by the Faculty of Psychology, which proves that depression and anxiety and low self-esteem or cyberbullying are consequences of prolonged social media exposure. Yeah, we just think that we made a better debate and have proved that our points based on some of the metaphysical concepts and some of the definitions posed, such as which is harmful, which we define as that which is detrimental to our health or physical injuries, for example. There are many cases of social media being a cause of that. We would like to end our contributions basically to this exercise with a closing statement. Social networks and the internet do have metaphysical elements that are harmful and are harmful themselves to human existence, because of all the reasons posed earlier. Thanks.
Thank you.
3 minutes and 35 seconds.
Thank you very much. Jocelyn?
Yes. Well, that will be
We're missing one team?
one team. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have like the audio a little. So the last team, the team one, could you present your final conclusion, please?
Go.
All right, thank you. Well, we finally we want to conclude that social networks and the internet itself have the role in our lives, but as a tool only, as a tool that serves us, sorry, for various purposes such as research and learning, but they do not go beyond these terms, and they only remain as what we mentioned. They are as a tools. We also want to include that in itself on the internet, on social networks, there is no, even though you can say like there is elements you can find, what we want to sustain is that there isn't, since everything we have on social media is just a second life, and with that second life we can transform everything we want into something else, and therefore it is something a part of our existence, and therefore it is not a big influence, or it is harmless for us. uh, all what Wait, what does this mean? It means that if it is a second life, this is only on us and makes us just want to, and makes us, sorry, and only makes us create what we think it's right, and only that, and therefore it is not harmful for us. uh, the internet and social media also, I pointed out that uh, it is there because we are fear of not being with someone and just being alone. Therefore we are able to create something in there that allows us to create different things, so we could feel better with ourselves. Finally, we want to say that we consider this, what we mentioned, all of the above I just said, we were able to demonstrate that social networks and the internet do not have any kind of impact on us as a human species in our existence. So therefore, it is painless for us, and in any kind of way and any kind of situations. Uh, and therefore, we want to say that we won this debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
2 minutes and 27 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you, Diego. Jocelyn and Diego, thank you very much. Okay, and thanks everyone who was here at the debate and was able to listen to the rest of your classmates, okay? So please, I need you to help me by stopping your recordings and then to put everything in a document. So